Hello, welcome back to Transfer News Live. I'm Statman Dave and this is the Scout Report, the best place for analysis on the biggest transfers in football. Today we're going to be focusing on Arne Slot's Liverpool. Slot has done incredibly well to lift the Premier League title, but will require spending money in the summer to retain that trophy. So anyway, let's dive straight in. Let's get this party started. So let's start in goal. Liverpool don't need to spend a single penny in this department. The number one being Alisson. Obviously this season continued his dominant goalkeeping displays. The best keeper in the world in 1v1 situations. In the Premier League he ranks 6th for expected goals prevented, 7th for save percentage and 6th again for sweeper keeper actions. Again, he'll be Liverpool's number one for a long time. But with Mamardashvili joining from Valencia, he has true competition. Mamardashvili didn't have the best season at Valencia, especially at the start of the year, but his form definitely turned around when Carlos Corberán became manager. The big thing with Alisson, he missed quite a lot of games last season with injury, around 30 for Liverpool and Brazil combined. So having a number two in with Mamardashvili's quality is only going to be a good thing for Arne Slot. Let's move to those defensive positions, starting with centre-back. Once again, quite simple. Liverpool don't really need to recruit in this area. Konate and Virgil van Dijk are the best pairing in terms of Premier League centre-backs for me. I think add that to the likes of, Joe Gomez, Quansah. Liverpool are quite stacked in this position. But of course, it's going to be slightly different this season with Trent Alexander-Arnold moving to Real Madrid. There's going to be a lot of work for the right-sided centre-back in terms of covering one of their new signings that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But I think Liverpool are very well set in terms of that position. They've got quality there, they've got leadership there, and they've got a real evolution of a footballing side from that defensive positions. I think when we look at the big areas that Liverpool do need to strengthen, though, this season, it does come in the fullback positions. Trent Alexander-Arnold leaving for Real Madrid, and of course Andy Robertson's form dropping off last season. I think it's an area that Liverpool could definitely improve. I think when you're looking at the quality of what Liverpool need to bring in terms of that right-sided player, I think a player that can really attack and stretch the play on the outside of Mohamed Salah could be very important. Of course, Conor Bradley is the other option for Liverpool at right-back. He's a player that likes to attack. So balancing out the team in a sense of what I would probably look for Liverpool is a left-sided defender that's more of a inverted fullback than a flying fullback in a sense that can tuck in, create a back three in possession. Konate can move out to cover the right back with Van Dijk sitting in the middle of a back three. Well, in fact, when we look at Arne Slot's Feyenoord, he played a lot of different combinations at fullback. So in fact, Liverpool could also look for a fly on the left-hand side, giving them that tactical option, playing a kind of inverted fullback dropping in, but also having a left back to attack if necessary. So that's what we're going to look for in these transfers. He likes a lot of different options, and we know that Arne Slot has done very well in the Premier League this season in terms of his tactical changes, winning games. I think first and foremost, a transfer that has already gone through for Liverpool is Jeremie Frimpong from Bayer Leverkusen. He's a player that I absolutely love. He basically operated as a winger for Xabi Alonso's side. Again, they played with 3 centre-halves, 4 in midfield and 2 kind of attacking midfielders off 1 striker. But Frimpong's kind of natural position very much is high. It's arguably on the last line as well. So in terms of the tactical side of it, that does mean there's a lot more work for Konate to do in the channel. That being said, he's already adept at doing that with Trent Alexander-Arnold wandering into midfield and neglecting his defensive responsibilities. Konate is kind of very good as a channel defender. He's someone that you can really trust defending that wide zone. That, let's say the ball is in that zone, you've got a player maybe carrying, dribbling towards the goal. Konate is good enough to deal with that situation and dominate by himself, allowing Fring Pong to basically be that attacker for Liverpool. And that's something that I think we'll see as an evolution of Arne Slot's side, is Mohamed Salah playing a lot more narrow, closer to the centre forward, which I think will be good for his development as an older player, but also giving him that ability to kind of cheat on the when the team is defending, getting ready for the counter-attack. But from a defensive perspective, having Salah inside is going to be massively impactful for Liverpool, knowing that he's got an option on the overlap that's really going to hold the width in the final third. Fring Pong's that type of player that's very, very good 1v1. He is so quick. And I think when you look at the Premier League, a lot of the fullbacks are quick. but Fring Pong is a different level of speed. That'll allow him to take people on the outside, 1v1 in the Premier League, and get crosses into the box. What I also like about Fring Pong, he's got a lot of delivery in him. He can drop the ball from deep into the penalty area. He's got good when getting to the byline, and also can have that kind of half-space run as well. So, a very good signing for Liverpool, an absolute bargain, 35 million euros for a player that will basically lock down and dominate that right flank for Liverpool for a lot of seasons to come. In terms of the area that I really like about him as well, he's a good goal scorer. Since the start of last season, he scored more goals than any other defender in Europe's top 5 leagues. So having someone with Fring Pong's quality kind of changes a little bit of the nature of what Liverpool are going to do. I think they probably attack a little bit more in a 3-2-5 structure, with Fring Pong being that true outlet on the right-hand side. But again, I think a transfer of really good quality. So moving to left-back, again, we've spoken about kind of Arne Slot probably wants a player that can hold the position, but also if Liverpool kind of maybe change their structure, maybe play with more of a, holding midfielder, and maybe with a 10 drops into central midfield, creating the traditional Liverpool 2-3-5 base that we saw time and time again under Jurgen Klopp, with a narrow front three. Having a flying winger within the squad is just going to give Arne Slot that ability to change things tactically, forcing, let's say, a Gakpo or a Luis Diaz into more of a central position, with the left back providing the width and getting crosses into the box. I think in terms of options, there are quite a few options on the market that could really facilitate that role. Gutierrez at Girona is a player I really like. A player that could play a number of roles as well. You're thinking, due to his technical and tactical ability, he's very capable of kind of inverting into that midfield area, which, again, Arne Slot would want at certain times, to kick the 10 into an advanced area, playing with kind of a wide right back but a narrow left back. It's a player that's very, very good in possession. The only issue you'd say with Gutierrez, he's got the quality on the ball. He's played central midfield this season as well. He's a really good passer and could arguably take that slot in the Liverpool squad that Trent Alexander-Arnold was doing, but obviously flipping it to the left-hand side of the pitch. The only flaw maybe in his game, aerially he's not great. He won around 19% of his aerial duels in the Liga this season. That'd be an area that teams could target. But I tell you what, wonderful footballer. If you can kind of cover the defensive frailties from aerial balls into the box, or punts up the pitch, maybe with Virgil van Dijk playing more as a stopper defender on this side and Gutierrez kind of covering when Liverpool are defending, I think you can kind of get over that. And top quality footballer, in possession, it allows you to build a lot better out of the back. But there's an obvious player here that I think is ready for Liverpool right now, and that is Kerkez from Brighton, a player that has excelled this season in the Premier League, arguably been one of the best left-backs in the division. The big thing is he is a player that likes to get on the outside. In terms of archetypes, he's very like Andy Robertson. Gets the ball wide, drives at people, carries, is very aggressive off the ball, and likes to get crosses into the box. His stats this season are very good. He ranks number 1 for defenders under 21 in Europe's top 5 leagues for shot creating actions and crosses completed, whilst as well he ranks 3rd for ball recoveries and 7th for tackles plus interceptions. This is the dream option for Liverpool, having Kerkez playing left back and of course Fring Pong playing as a right back. That will allow Liverpool to truly have a lot of quality in the area. And a sense of kind of how Liverpool attack and so forth, the fluidity would allow one to sit, one to hold, one to push, one to drop. It would be very difficult for opposition to kind of deal with that threat of both fullbacks attacking. Alternatively, obviously with the setup, we could potentially see maybe Mohamed Salah moved into a central position as a 9. Fring Pong playing actually as a right winger. I think he'd be very well suited for that position, and potentially playing a Joe Gomez or a Quanta at right back to allow Liverpool to kind of build with that 3 on the right-hand side and throw in that left-back high up the pitch could very much be an option. But in terms of maybe more of a holding player, again, I think the best option for Liverpool is probably, the other way where, you've got the likes of, Fring Pong playing super high on the right wing, creating a front 5 with the other forwards. I think having a holding left-sided centre-back or an inverted fullback, as I called it previously, would be really good for Liverpool. So in terms of options on the market, I think there's a few. In terms of if you wanted to go for an extremely young option, but very technically gifted, Hato from Ajax would be a great option. He's a player that's really starting to evolve. He's almost a little bit Trent Alexander-Arnold in terms of how he's so comfortable in possession, his quality in passing at only 19 is very, very good. The only thing you'd look at that is 19 years old, coming to the Premier League from the Eredivisie is quite a tough one, but we've all seen how well Jurrien Timber has been for Arsenal in terms of his ability to win the duels and so forth. So Hato could be a great option for them in that position. But a player I quite like that would be very smart in terms of the signing would be Facundo Medina from Lyon. He's a player that's operated in a back three this season, very much operating as a wide centre-back, a player out of their back three. Lyon that would move forward and join the attacking play. Let's say when the ball has been moved to the wing back or the nominal winger, he's a player that likes to attack that inside channel. Very composed in possession, but what I love about him is he is an absolute dog off the ball. He's so aggressive, very aggressive to get out, to kind of win the ball back in pressing moments or when Lille are defending. Lille operated in a very man-orientated system last season, so Medina at times you'd see him jump into that midfield area to go and win a duel and win the ball back, which I think would be very good for this Liverpool setup. It would allow, the left winger to be wide, and I think that suits Gakpo, I think that suits Diaz. It would allow Salah to play in an inside position with Fring Pong holding the width. It could be available for around 30 million euros. And in terms of the stats, they're very good. Medina ranked in the top 3% of centre-backs for progressive passes and the top 2% for progressive carries. He's a player that would really add quality on Liverpool's left-hand side of their defence, not only driving into midfield and progressing the play, but also breaking lines with penetrative passes through the middle. I think both of the options would be good for Liverpool. I think having the likes of Kerkez to be the attacking option and Medina being the kind of more centre-back, left-sided player option would be very, very good for Liverpool. That gives them so much tactical ability to change things within game. But for argument's sake, for today, we'll keep it the dream option, and that, of course, is Kerkez. He would be the dream option for Liverpool right now, and it would give them such quality from the back. So let's move into midfield, an area of the pitch that's arguably like a low priority. I think when you look at the starting two, McAllister and Ryan Gravenberch have been two of the best central players in the Premier League. And kind of a big shout out to McAllister. You think for Argentina, he makes Enzo Fernandez look like a world beater. And obviously his partnership with Gravenberch has been brilliant for Liverpool under Arne Slot. You're combining that ability to carry under pressure, to read the play, to really be composed in certain areas in Ryan Gravenberch. And then you've got the real kind of box-to-box nature of McAllister that's really good in a double pivot. They're, of course, the two starting players, but I think a low priority for Liverpool could be to strengthen this position. Again, this would be if Liverpool have got a load of money. Let's say they've sold Darwin Núñez to Saudi Arabia for 80 million quid. They've maybe moved on some squad players as well. I think starting kind of the backup to Ryan Gravenberch, you're looking at Shay Charles, on loan from Southampton this season, excelled for Sheffield United in the Championship. 4th in the division for tackles plus interceptions, and actually 4th overall for interceptions as well. Quite a physical player, but has come through the Manchester City Academy. So decent on the ball, has that ability to spot passes. I really like, though, what I think, in terms of what I like about Gravenberch is his ability to just drive through and carry and add something different to the attack. Charles has got the potential to be that type of player. He's got a really big frame about him, and he's a good dribbler. Not only would he provide that, obviously the defensive stats you mentioned previously could arguably replace the role that Endo has within the squad. That ball-winning midfielder, to play later games or to play in certain matches where you want a little bit more aggression in that zone. Not only has Charles played in a double pivot, a single pivot in his career so far, he's also played centre-back for Manchester City, and he's also played right-back. So it's that versatility that Endo kind of gives the Liverpool squad in a sense of he's a defensive midfielder that can play in a varied amount of positions dependent on what the manager needs. But very much if Shay Charles was brought in, it would be kind of a really cheap deal in a sense of, you're buying it from relegated Southampton. They're looking to sell players to get them off the wage bill. He could be a really good option that showed good quality in the Championship. And I don't think it's a marquee signing, a low priority signing that could be available quite cheap. That would just add a little bit more steel to Liverpool midfield. I think obviously we're talking about the dream window for Liverpool this season. And we're talking about selling players. We're talking about buying other players. One player that I think would be absolutely brilliant for Liverpool in this 6th position would be Adam Wharton. We all know Wharton's quality as a left-footed deep line playmaker, his quality in bouncing out of pressure, his quality in terms of playing forward and breaking lines. He is just so composed, and I think that level of composure with maybe a Ryan Gravenberch could be the long-term solution to Liverpool's midfield. Obviously, after McAllister leaves, I'm talking, 5 years down the line, but Adam Wharton's one of the best ball-playing players in the Premier League at the moment. I think that left-footedness really gives him an edge on certain midfielders. It opens up different passes with that left foot. It allows him to kind of play ahead of the winger on the left-hand side. It allows him to break through. But what I like about him as well is when he's got pressure on his back, when the opposition are really squeezing him high, he's really good at just like kind of receiving and bouncing the ball off. Let's say Van Dijk into Walton, bouncing out, then Liverpool pray through. It's such simple things that Adam Wharton does well. And obviously we're talking dreams at the moment. Adam Wharton would be a dream signing in midfield for this summer. Again, I think McAllister and Gravenberch are number one right now, and I think they would be next season, even if Wharton were to join. But I think the long-term midfield of Wharton and Ryan Gravenberch, if we're talking dream windows, would be absolutely devastating. Let's continue into midfield. Obviously, Arne Slot's playing this kind of 4-box-2 shape for Liverpool this season, where they kind of overload the midfield line with 4 central players. The rotations are very, very good. The fluidity is very good. And you could argue that like kind of a true number 9 doesn't really suit this Liverpool team right now, where, arguably the 2 attackers are more the kind of wide forwards. And we've seen that with Mohamed Salah's season this year, directly involved in 46 goals at the time of recording in the Premier League, which already is a Premier League record, and he could beat the record that Alan Shearer and Andy Cole set. Incredible footballer, a player that's only getting better with age. But I do think this kind of midfield area is really interesting for Liverpool, because I think you've got to sign a certain type of footballer. I don't think bringing in maybe like a Victor Osimhen, who's a real true number 9 that likes getting the penalty area, that doesn't really want to link, is the right guy for Liverpool. And I think when you look at the attacking midfield line, obviously Szoboszlai has been superb for Liverpool. His energy, his pressing is vitally important. His goal involvements of 6 goals and 6 assists in the Premier League is definitely something for him to work on, but I like the raw materials that we're seeing from Szoboszlai. Energy, creativity, linking the play, good eye for a pass. Is someone that I don't think will be, needs to be changed out really. And you could also look at him being a bit of the unsung hero for Liverpool. Not only his work rate from a pressing perspective, but also covering Mohamed Salah at certain times has been really important this season, and supporting that kind of right flank. So that midfield line is interesting. I think that number 10 position is an area where Liverpool need to buy someone. But before we dive into that, let's talk the options on the left and the right. Mohamed Salah is obviously the shoehorn in for the right-sided position. Again, potentially you could see him in the striker position long term, but naturally, as we mentioned previously, with Jeremie Frimpong's attacking nature, Salah's naturally going to be a little bit more inside for Liverpool this season. So naturally going to see him in more of a striking position, given the width is going to come from the Dutch international. So moving to the other flank, I think there's good options already for Liverpool. I think this is what I'm talking about. Having 2 options in every position is what Liverpool need to do to retain the Premier League title. Hence why someone like Adam Wharton would be an absolute dream signing, because you're looking to get 2 players every position that can be rotated with all the cup competitions and still have a top chance of winning the Premier League again. In terms of left wing, obviously we've got Luis Diaz, who I really like, but I've also quite liked Luis Diaz in that kind of centre forward position this season as well. Only Mohamed Salah scored more goals in the Premier League than Luis Diaz this year. I think he started the season really well. I think he had a bit of a patch in the mid-season that was a little bit off, but again I think he's regained his form, whereas Gakpo's really evolving in the Premier League. And actually if you look at his numbers under Arne Slot this season, he's at 0.82 goals and assists per 90, which is 44% better than his time under Jurgen Klopp, showing a real evolution under Arne Slot. So maybe we'll leave Gakpo in that kind of centre forward position, but the one player that Liverpool really need to go out and buy to play that position is Florian Vertz. This guy is the best attacking midfielder on the planet right now for me. I think his quality on the ball, off the ball, but also just his vision, his close control is simply sublime. And I think he's a player that would instantly improve Liverpool. The only issue, obviously, is the cost. The money that you're going to spend for someone like Florian Wirtz is going to be £120 million, which again, I think is good value for a player that is really, really going places. You look at his goal involvement under Xabi Alonso in the 2 seasons at Leverkusen, they've been simply sublime. You're adding the quality to the Liverpool attack, and it also works out from a tactical perspective that Florian Wirtz is a player that kind of really likes to drift, that likes to operate in the channels and likes to get on the ball in deep areas. When looking at his kind of most dominant zone, from a heat map perspective, he loves operating in kind of the inside left channel. He likes coming towards the ball, which I think is good for the Liverpool balance. You know, it allows Gakpo to play slightly higher with Mohamed Salah. Szoboszlai can kind of hold his position or drop in at certain times. You're basically overloading the opponent's shape. When you've got two players that are sensationally good in the half spaces in Szoboszlai and Florian Vertz, you're starting to build something for Liverpool in the long term that will really work. And I think his ability to drop off the line, to receive passes and then feed his teammates is sublime. When you think of the shape that Leverkusen played with the two wing-backs and a number 9 ahead, Florian Wirtz was the link. He was the glue. He's the player that's really improved himself in terms of all aspects of his game. I think when you look at Liverpool in terms of that shape, it could be this kind of 4 box 2 shape we're looking at right now. Or alternatively, potentially if in other games when you want to kind of play with maybe more offensive left back, you could maybe throw Luis Diaz in as kind of the central player and throw Florian Wirtz out that left-hand side. So basically the front three you're creating will be Mohamed Salah, Florian Wirtz, Kerkez maybe on the overlap, Adam Wharton, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, and Fring Pong on the other side. That is a very, very dangerous forward line. And you think the creativity that Florian Vertz would bring this Liverpool team in this number 10 area would be sublime. Some of his passes over the last season, ridiculous. Go and check his assist out against Borussia Dortmund. A brilliant ball with the outside of his boot to find one of his teammates in the box. I just think he's got such quality in the area. When we look at his statistics, he has everything a modern day number 10 needs. He can dribble, he can create, and he can score. This guy is the real deal. And if we look at what Liverpool have got, the energy of Szoboszlai, the creativity of Florian Wirtz, that is a very dangerous midfield duo in an attacking sense. And I think that is the signing Liverpool need to make to fully evolve the team. So just to round things off, Arne Slot's dream transfer window would be Jeremie Frimpong, who's already been signed, Kerkez from Bournemouth, Adam Walton from Crystal Palace, and Florian Vertz from Bayer Leverkusen. These signings would mean that Liverpool go on to win the Premier League once again. But anyway, guys, get into the comments below. Let me know who you think Liverpool should sign this summer to retain the Premier League title. I've been Statman Dave, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you later.